It's midday right here in Lagos, Nigeria. Welcome to Lunchtime Politics, where we'll bring you up to speed with the biggest happenings in politics. And we have a lot we have gleaned from the weekend up to this morning. And we'll give you the all-access pass right here on the program. I'm Jeffrey Uzama. Let's get started with the headlines. Former Minister of Science and Technology Nnaji pleads not guilty to charges of alleged certificate forgery and money laundering preferred against him by the anti-graft agency. Lifeline to political parties as Independent National Electoral Commission INEC extends deadline for submission of presidential and National Assembly candidates for the next election. Thanks again for joining us on the program where we bring you up to speed with everything politics and everything in between politics, which we call the polity. Not guilty. That's the response of the former Minister of Science and Technology, Mr. Nnaji, to 6-count charge bordering on alleged certificate forgery, obtaining money by false pretense, and money laundering preferred against him by the anti-graft agency. He was arraigned before Justice Joyce Abdulmalik of the Federal High Court, Abuja, by the Independent Corrupt Practices and Other Related Offences Commission, ICPC, who accused him of submitting forged University of Nigeria Nsukka degree and National Youth Service Corps discharge certificate during his 2023 ministerial screening. He's also alleged to have received about 29 million naira in salaries and emolument on false pretense. Following his plea, Justice Abdulmalik granted him 20 million naira bail with one surety, a federal civil servant not below the grade level of 15, and the matter has now been adjourned to September the 21st, 2026 for the commencement of his trial. In the meantime, the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, has extended the deadline for political parties to submit the list of their successful candidates for the 2027 presidential and National Assembly elections. In a statement by INEC, new deadline for the parties to submit their candidate list is now midnight of Tuesday, July the 14th, 2026, as against the previous date, which was Saturday, July the 11th, 2026. According to INEC, the extension followed an appeal by the political parties who were unable to meet the previous deadline. In a statement by INEC's National Commissioner and Chairman on Voter Education, Mohammed Kudu Haruna, political parties that are yet to meet this obligation, they are to take advantage of the additional window to ensure that all required details are uploaded before the expiration of the new deadline. So that's a big lifeline for political parties. Let's talk about what will be the focus of our conversation. Security. Ogbomoso, your state is still in happy mode following the rescue and safe return of abductees from the Orire local government area. While families celebrate their safe release and praise government's intervention, they remain haunted by the vulnerability of rural schools. Their joy is tempered by urgent demands. They are seeking for security for their children, fix their schools, and a bridge connecting all of the divides so that this tragedy doesn't strike again the second time. Let's take a listen to some of the excerpts of the conversation they had.
I am deeply grateful to both the federal and state governments. What they did for us was least expected. Even when we had almost lost hope, President Bola Tinubu and Governor Seyi Makinde came through for us. They fulfilled their promises, and we are indeed thankful. However, our community continues to suffer from poor network service. One of the reasons the abduction succeeded was because we could not communicate with the city center for help.
Firstborn, secondborn,
my first and second children were among those kidnapped, along with 2 of my relatives' children. I was devastated since it happened, but I just got some respite. For the first time, I can sleep again. We appeal for urgent support in Yawota community. We need communication networks because there's no service here, and our roads are poor.
On the 15th, oṣù karùn-ún What happened on the 15th of May was terrifying. We heard gunshots and people started running helter-skelter. We were all devastated, but we are grateful for the intervention that has brought relief.
Òǹkàlùkù gbọ́ báyìí, so òǹkàlùkù ń jubilate káàkiri ni everywhere. Tínú oníkàlùkù ń dùn.
We are all relieved now that the children are out, but we have specific requests. We need army and police barracks here to strengthen security. We urge our people to unite and reinforce the vigilante network and local hunters while awaiting government action.
I can imagine the sigh of relief from the parents and every family member who has had to go through all of this very difficult experience as far as this abduction is concerned. But we're glad they are back, and commendation to all of the security agencies and the government. And our thoughts, our prayers are with the families of those who lost their lives, including our gallant soldiers and other personnel as well, including the teachers who died in this particular very sad episode in our national history. Let's bring in my guest. Is a retired Deputy Inspector General of Police, DIG Abutu Yaro, joins us virtually. DIG, thank you so much for coming on the program. We appreciate you, sir.
Thank you for having me. It's my pleasure.
Let's talk about that operation that led to this. 56 days and counting. That's the total number of days. We understand these people were in the abductors then, and it was pressure from the public. Fortunately for them, nobody let this off. The security agencies, everybody, there was pressure on government, both at the federal and the state level, and the security agencies to ensure that they are released safely. Sadly, certain persons, the gentleman, the teacher who was murdered the very first few days, and then we understand another teacher, I think, also lost his life because when the governor was giving the statistic of how many people were released, as well as we're also happy that all of the children returned, but some of our soldiers, I think a few of our soldiers died in this process. But where I'm going to with recounting all of this, we understand there were extraordinary measures that were taken to persuade this dastardly element to do what they have to do in ensuring that no one was hurt. Should that be our new move, or this has always been our MO, or this is a unique one?
Thank you very much. This is a very unique one, and it has laid a very fantastic template for further engagement. That is to say, in our quest to reassert our security authority over our people, over our territory, we must be on the lookout, especially this time around, when some of these terrorists have local relatives, friends, and associates. And of course, since it has become a notorious fact now that indigenous Nigerians are part of these terrorist squads, and these Nigerians have relatives, family, friends scattered in diverse locations. The new unique approach now requires engaging their relatives in the investigation. And certainly it's constitutional that when an odious crime takes place, persons who know the perpetrators will be called by the state authority or by institutional authority to seek for their cooperation in that inquiry or in that investigation. And it's really, practicing that model has aided us tremendously in arriving at the result we got. However, the fact that we lost one of our promising officers still leaves a dark spot in our mind. A promising young man of 28 years, Lieutenant Isaac, died in the process. And I believe that he has died as a hero, and may God repose his soul. But as we move ahead as a nation, this unique template infused into fighting terrorism will continue to dominate our sensibility now and our standard operation manual. And I believe as the days go by or as we move forward, we are going to triumph and Nigeria will prevail. Thank you.
Still staying on this matter, let's stay with the MO of getting relatives. What messaging is the government reeling out through this particular method in terms of being complicit in terms of accommodating or in terms of literally looking out for anyone who is engaged in this? I'm happy you mentioned that if they have local family members, so that is a provisor in this sense. Now, this is prevalent especially in the north, where we see loads of mass abductions cascading down south. So what do you think communities should start doing now that the government has said, if this is the extraordinary measure we will have to take, we will take it, no matter whose ox is God? What are the communities meant to start doing now to make sure that they are not in this very difficult position where unscrupulous elements who are family members can put them in?
And that is, it goes without saying that the established mantra that you see something, say something, that mantra has been part of our national lexicon over the while. And this is a better time to practice it. What that means is that a relative, a neighbor, a co-resident, or somebody of the same social interaction with you, who you know is part of the bad group tormenting the society, you have to expose them. And if you don't expose them timelessly, whenever situations like this exist, you may be forced to come and give account of your relationship with those people. And in respect of that kind of circumstance, you may find it, or you will certainly find it, a little bit more inconveniencing. So driving the point home harder, we are saying that with this experience, we as community members, we as village members, we as street members, we should be able to expose the bad element in our midst, regardless of the nature of our relationship with them, regardless of the fact that the man or the woman may be your sibling, it may be your husband, it may be your wife, it may be your brother or whatever. In as much as that guy or that person has adopted to criminality, particularly aggravated criminality in the form of terrorism, we should be able to expose them as individuals, as community, as society. And if we fail to operate in the way we are canvassing, the consequences will be much more. Because looking at the provisions of our law, especially the criminal code, there are extant provisions there that tend to say that if you know a criminal and you are aware of the issues pertaining to him and you fail to divulge it, when that criminal is found in the net, certainly you may be arrested as an accessory after the fact of crime. That is Section 7E of the Criminal Code. So I want to use this opportunity to appeal to our population that exposing criminals and terrorists is a civic duty. We as nationals, we need to expose them now. Whereas normal governmental institutions that apprehend them, they are willing, ready, able, and always taking necessary action. We should be able to volunteer information now and expose the bad elements in our midst. Therefore, communities and societies in many places in the country that are ravaged by terrorism, they owe this country a duty, and they owe themselves the duty to now become informants to security agents instead of becoming informants to terrorists and criminals. Because if you fail to divulge information and these people are apprehended from your community, or when they commit, the authority will certainly look for you and bring you for interrogation. And certainly by so doing, you wouldn't claim, you are not supposed to claim ignorance because you have relationship with these persons. So exposing criminals, that's the best thing for us to do at this point in time. And I so plead with all of us as people of the same country to do the needful in this direction so that our fight against terrorism will have a new critical addition. Because once we are exposing them, certainly the crime fighters and the defense forces will have an easier assignment to do. But when the population, the village, the community remain quiet, trading information with them, certainly we are inviting collective calamity. And that's not the best for us as a country. And this is an eye-opener.
Out of curiosity, let me ask DIG on if you compare, we've had good number, one of the highest record numbers when it comes to the Papri incident, where we had debatable numbers around 300. 300 young children were abducted in that particular, and their teachers, by the way. But this is about less than 50 persons. But the level of pressure from public, from the level of awareness, as far as this particular Papri case, not Papri now, Orire is concerned, looks to be uniquely strong. I may say stronger than the other ones we've had in recent time. Why do you think that is? Oh dear. We hope we can get DIG Abutu Yaro back. He's a former Deputy Inspector General of Police who was joining us virtually. We hope the weather can also allow us to have this conversation, because he's the man on ground who understands how these things. He served the Nigerian police, so he understands a lot about how these things happen. My question, DIG, in case we're able to get you back, I see that there was a lot of pressure with this Orire case. Now, nobody was letting off. There were protests in several parts of the country, including in Ibadan itself, to make sure the government acts. But we see other parts of the country, maybe the northern part of the country, even with the Papri case, I don't know how much pressure was there, just like this one. So we're looking at what has happened with Orire, and so that we can replicate it as a model, we hope there will not be an incident of another set of mass abduction, because we cannot be a playing field for terrorists to have their field day right here in Nigeria. But DIG, I don't know if we can get you back, but meanwhile, let's bring you other stories while we try to catch up with the DIG as we conclude that, because there are a couple of questions that I've listed for him here. But let's tell you how the Edo State Independent National Electoral Commission has declared the All Progressives Congress winner of all the 18 chairmanship seats and the 192 councillorship seat contested in Saturday's local government elections. Speaking during a briefing at the Commission's Secretariat in the Benin City, the Edo State capital, the chairman of the Commission says the election was conducted peacefully with minor operational challenges that did not affect the overall outcome.
Following the completion of the coalition process at the various wards and local government coalition centers, the duly appointed ward returning officers, the local government returning officers announced and declared the results in their respective jurisdictions. Following that, the Commission hereby affirmed the result as officially declared by the returning officers. According to the official results declared, the All Progressive Congress won all the 18 local government chairmanship positions and all the 192 councilship seats contested in the election. The Commission is satisfied that the returning officers carried out the statutory responsibilities professionally, impartially, and in accordance with the law. Overall, the election was conducted peacefully across the states. While there were minor operational challenges in few locations, these did not substantially affect the overall conduct or outcome of the election. The Commission remains committed to the continual improving in its electoral process through periodic reviews and stakeholder engagements.
All right, so that's the local government election in Edo State. Let's bring back our guest, DIG Abutu Yaro. DIG, thanks for staying with us. We understand the network couldn't allow you here. I don't know whether you got my question. I was trying to ask what was uniquely different in terms of this particular Orire case, because if you compare it with the Papri incident and maybe others, the level of pressure that came on this particular case was different. The question, why I'm asking this is so we can replicate this. We hope there will not be mass abduction. So what was uniquely different about Orire that the nation refused to move on until we got the solution we wanted?
Yeah, what was uniquely different is as follows. One, the sympathetic age range of the victims was something that was inconceivable. Remember, one of the schools raided was a nursery school with victims as young as children of 2 years, 1.5 years. That was a unique circumstance. Number two, this incident took place within the least expected zone in our country, particularly that Oyo general area was not within the context of our contemplation of active terrorist cell operating. Number three, the context of that happenstance was exacerbated by the fact that the terrorists were this time around making a unique demand on us as a country that their accomplices who were held at Agodi prison over similar offenses should be released. So that kind of unusual circumstance and the confidence in demanding prison swap was a more aggravated format of the terrorism gameplay existing in our country before now. And that was why the national consciousness became tilted and concentrated on this particular incident. And that was why two extraordinary measures were employed, particularly with respect to picking up and interrogating their relatives and acquaintances. Because this time around, they were making similar demand, telling us as a country to release their own acquaintance, who is already convicted of terrorism and was serving prison sentence. So these are the unique circumstances that really, in my view, triggered the national response mechanism that helped us to attain this formidable and positive result.
All right, DIG, let me come in here. We're going to go live to our DSTV platform. But one of the questions I will ask you, DIG, is what we need to do in terms of preparation for, will I call it a reprisal, their own response. We will be naive to think that they'll go to sleep with what we've done to them in this particular incident. Some were neutralized, some were arrested. We understand they will be arraigned pretty soon. So I would like you to talk to us about how we need to prepare for potential reprisal, if you would, or counterattack by this element. But we will now cross over to Osun State, that's Oshogbo, for our live coverage of the Kimpact Development Initiative, Stakeholders Forum on Osun Election, Peace and Security Summit, organized by Kimpact and other partners, taking place in Oshogbo, the state capital. But that will be only on our DSTV platform. The program continues on all other platforms. So, DIG, let's stay with what you think should be the preparations against Ansaro and their elements, because I will not be surprised that they are planning another one.
Hello?
Yeah, did you hear my question?
Yeah, what we are supposed to do with respect to preparation to avert reprisal.
Yes.
In respect of this particular case, simple. What we need to do as a country or as a security institution is to go on all-out war for these people.
Over there. The network, the weather is very, is very interesting this period. But we'll hope that we can continue to engage with our guests virtually, the ones we have to engage virtually, to see how we can get the most out of this conversation. But my question is important because we've seen this happen over and over again, and we're tired of having mass abductions on our soil, in our country. And so to think that these elements will just fold their arms after they lost their partners in crime and some will stand trial in our courts, that they will just go to sleep, that is not how they are wired. So my question is, how do we prepare for them? That's actually my question for the DIG. But let's tell you how, DIG, yes, maybe you land on your thoughts.
Yeah, are you hearing me now?
Yes, the network, momentarily, we couldn't hear you anymore. Go ahead, sir.
Hello?
Go ahead, sir. We can hear you, sir. Can you hear us, sir? DIG, can you hear us?
Hello?
We can hear you. If you can hear me, please go ahead.
Are you hearing me?
Yes, if you can hear me, yes, go ahead, sir.
Okay, the point I'm making is that a formal declaration of war is essential in this matter.
Wow. This network is particularly unfriendly. But let's tell you, let's hope that we can get just maybe one more take from the DIG. But let's tell you how the Socioeconomic Rights and Accountability Project SERAP has sued the Independent National Electoral Commission over its alleged failure to investigate claims that the APC governors diverted allegedly 800 billion naira for political and campaign purposes. According to the suit, the funds were allegedly sourced through monthly deductions from FAC allocation to support President Tinubu's re-election campaign. SERAP is asking the High Court to compel INEC to investigate the allegations, demand full disclosure of the campaign funds, including donors and funding sources, and enforce Section 91 of the Electoral Act on political financing. The organization argues that unchecked campaign funding threatens transparency, electoral fairness, and the credibility of the 2027 general elections, insisting that INEC must uphold its constitutional duty to safeguard Nigeria's democratic process. So, yes, 800 billion naira deducted directly from FAC to support President Bola Tinubu's campaign as alleged. That's what SERAP is saying. SERAP is telling the INEC, you must find out whether this is true, and every governor involved, well, every state involved has to bear the full wrath of the law. DIG, if I can try one more time to see whether I can get your last take. Can you hear us, sir? Oh, dear. Okay. We hope we can catch, because the inside, there's a lot we need to explore so that this doesn't happen again. But I must thank you so much for your time and, of course, your usual company on the program. I'm Jeffrey Uzama. You've been served on Lunchtime Politics. Bye-bye.